Hello, I'm Sandy Martin, the Mayor of Shoreview. I'm very pleased to introduce to you a new initiative for our community called Shoreview for the Ages. Shoreview, like most communities, has ever-increasing numbers of seniors. The Shoreview for the Ages initiative, which has been generously funded by Ecumen, is about making sure that Shoreview remains a community for all ages. The intent of these videos is to share information and to increase intergenerational awareness here in Shoreview. We'd love for you to get involved, and we hope that you'll be participating. There are many ways that you can participate. You could jump in and ask a question. You could write a blog. You could watch a video or submit an idea for a new video. And the only guideline is that contributions should promote intergenerational understanding. We hope you enjoy the program, and we're eager to hear from you. Thank you very much.
And why not make it inclusive? Why not take this opportunity to make it so that all students can be able to interact with each other, regardless of their challenges that they may face.
So when we heard about the playground for all ages, it seemed a natural thing.
A space where children and their caregivers of all ages and abilities would be able to learn and interact through play.
All the same, teaching them inclusion as an attitude and as a mindset and as an approach for our community.
Hi, my name is Katie Johnson, and I am the Communications Chair for the Turtle Lake Elementary School Playground Project, known as A Playground for Everyone. And I'm joined here today with Principal DARIN Johnson, who is the principal at Turtle Lake Elementary, as well as Jen SPRAIN, who serves as the project chair for the Playground for Everyone project. So to start, I'd like to just ask you, Jen, could you tell us a little bit more about A Playground for Everyone and how you personally became involved?
Sure. A Playground for Everyone is the vision of bringing inclusive play to our community. I first became involved as a member of the PTA when we decided to start taking a look at playground improvements. As a mom of 2 boys, I have spent countless hours at various playgrounds, not only in Shoreview, but the surrounding areas, and I've really enjoyed watching them grow and take on new challenges. But from a social aspect, I've also enjoyed meeting other moms and caregivers and sharing our stories. So as my boys got a little older, I found that this was my way of giving back. When the PTA decided to put together an exploratory committee to take a look at what improvements needed to be made, I stepped forward. And what we found was that this playground, the current playground, which was built in the early 1990s and in need of updates, it wasn't meeting the needs of all the students. So we decided that we wanted to create a space where children and their caregivers of all ages and abilities would be able to learn and interact through play.
And I'd like to ask you, Principal Johnson, if you could just tell us a little bit more about Turtle Lake Elementary School and how you think this project could benefit the students.
Yeah, well, Turtle Lake Elementary is one of 6 elementary schools in the Mounds View Public School District. We have a little over 1,000 students that attend Turtle Lake, grades K through 5, serving primarily families living in Shoreview and North Oaks, although we do have some students at Turtle Lake who are from surrounding communities as well. One of the things that I think is really going to be neat about this project is an opportunity for us to really transfer all the great things that are happening inside the walls of Turtle Lake and make that extension out to the playground. Right now we have a lot of things in place throughout the school day to help all children build those relationships and interact with one another throughout the school day. During recess time it does look a little bit different due to the current structure of our playground. It has wood chips and it does not have the accessibility points to the structures that we have on the playground. Students are limited in how they can interact with one another. This new playground, like Jen had mentioned, is going to provide an opportunity for us to continue to build those relationships, continue to support those students in building those relationships throughout that recess time, throughout the school day, as they are interacting with one another and not having to worry about how accessible our structure is.
Thank you, Principal Johnson and Jen, for sharing a little bit more about A Playground for Everyone and inclusive play. Next, we'll be hearing from Daria FALLGATTER to learn a little bit more about the design of this inclusive playground.
So even Grandma shared with us that she felt comfortable running around after her grandkids on the playground for the first time.
So we had an opportunity to hear from Principal Johnson and Jen SPRAIN a little bit more about inclusive play. And now I have with me Daria FALLGATTER, who serves as the design chair for the playground committee. And I would just like to ask you, Daria, you were really one of the driving forces behind even considering inclusive play as an option for our playground at Turtle Lake. And I would just like to ask you to share your story with us.
Sure, Katie, I would love to. As you know, play is a universal language. As our youngest of three, Ian was born with spina bifida. So he uses a wheelchair for mobility. And now at 6.5 years old, he is just getting too heavy for me to take him around the playgrounds and provide for him those opportunities for him to play with his sisters and his peers. Since then, I've done some research on inclusive play, and the closest one that I could find was in Red Wing, Minnesota. So one day, the 5 of us jumped into the car and we brought Grandma along for good measure, and we headed to Red Wing, Minnesota. As we reached our destination and opened the car doors, the girls hopped out, we put Ian in his chair, and off they went. And they're able to play with one another independently for quite a few hours, and I just thought, what a magical thing that was taking place right before our eyes. And after a few hours of play, definitely the chant from the kids was best playground ever. So even Grandma shared with us that she felt comfortable running around after her grandkids on the playground.
Great. Well, I like how you shared that Grandma also had an opportunity to play, because something that this inclusive play provides is an opportunity for, if there are caregivers or grandparents with walkers or wheelchairs themselves, they are able to play side by side with their kids, or even moms with strollers if you have a younger child trying to keep up with the older child, because we really hope this will be a community asset.
Absolutely.
So thank you for sharing your story.
Sure. All the same, teaching them inclusion as an attitude and as a mindset and as an approach for our community.
Daria, we've got these great display boards here of what the inclusive playground at Turtle Lake would look like. Could you please walk us through some of the special features?
Absolutely, Katie. The first thing you'll notice is the blue area, and that's designated as approximately 5,000 square feet of rubber tiles that enables kids, parents, grandkids, caregivers to run, walk, or roll safely to the play structure.
As opposed to the wood chips that we currently have.
Exactly. And as well, you'll notice the ramping that you see up to the highest point, so that enables all individuals to reach the top if they so wish, because who wouldn't want to get to the highest point? Another feature I'd like to point out is the social areas that we see in this design. And that, when you're out there playing in a playground, it's so great to see kids interact. And sometimes it's not kids that would typically interact together. So these play areas underneath the decking, underneath the slides, this rock and ship glider is a special quality of this playground. And Katie, I'd also like to point out that if they don't want to reach the top, there are opportunities at all these decks for, we have music panels And we have a Braille panel that will stimulate children's minds and raise awareness. For those kids that may be overwhelmed by a crowd, there are independent events surrounding the structure which will allow for small group or individual activities. The events also provide valuable sensory stimulation. For example, the jackhammer is great for joint compression. Spinners also allow that for their participants to stimulate their vestibular senses or their sense of balance and spatial awareness. And many other innovative new pieces that will interest kids and challenge them as they grow. All the same teaching them inclusion as an attitude and as a mindset and as an approach for our community.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be hearing from Councilmember Quigley, and we'll hear a little bit more about how this can be an asset for Shoreview as a community, not just the students at Turtle Lake Elementary School.
So when we heard about the playground for all ages, it seemed a natural thing.
Earlier we heard from DARIA FALLGATTER about the inclusive playground and some of the specific features of that playground. And now I have with me Terry Quigley, who is a council member for the City of Shoreview. And I just want to thank you for being here with us today, and would like to ask if you could share your perspective on what you think this type of playground would mean for the community of Shoreview.
Well, thanks for having me here. We're, of course, very interested in our playgrounds, and particularly this project. One of the city's missions is to be as inclusive as possible for all social groups. And to that extent, we had the Ecumen people talk to us about a community for all ages because of the demographics in the city of Shoreview. And it turns out that we're in the process of our own playground upgrading. And we've gotten great resident input from our Human Rights Commission and our Park and Rec Commission to make those community assets as inclusive as possible. So when we heard about the playground for all ages, it seemed a natural thing. And the city was very pleased to be a partner in that project, as we have been on a number of school district projects. The council is committed to it as a group. I am personally interested, having been a resident of Shoreview and having had 6 children in the school's playgrounds, and currently have children and grandchildren using the schools and the community's playgrounds. So it's easy for us to be very supportive of this, and we're pleased to be a part of it and anxious to follow it through what will be, I'm sure, a successful completion.
So thank you for your time, and Heather Meyer will actually be talking to us next about some of the timing questions about how and when we hope to implement this project.
Why not make it inclusive? Why not take this opportunity to make it so that all students can be able to interact with each other, regardless of their challenges that they may face?
We just had the opportunity to hear from Councilmember Quigley about the benefit that this project could bring to the Shoreview community. And now I have with me Heather Meyer, who serves as our development chair, as well as Principal Johnson. And we were talking with Councilmember Quigley about when we could see this vision come to fruition in our community. So I wonder, Heather, if you could give a few comments about when we could realize this vision of inclusive play for Shoreview.
Well, I think it's first important to note that we've had the dedication and hard work of some really extraordinary individuals up to this point. Persons like Principal Johnson, as well as Jen SPRAIN, Katie, Daria, and a variety of other committee members and ambassadors have stepped forward to make this, this vision a reality. Our intention is to bring this to completion by the summer of 2014. We're hoping to roll out our campaign officially in the months to come, but in order to do that, we have followed kind of the guidance of the saying that you have to plan your work and work your plan. And in doing that, we have spent a significant amount of time over the past year putting in place all the necessary infrastructure to realize this vision. And that means that we have all the right things in place to run a campaign effectively using philanthropic best practices. We are pleased to report that at this juncture, we've raised approximately 20% of our goal of the $280,000. And although that seems like we're not quite that far along, that those meaningful investments have actually come to us without any overt fundraising. So we are very well positioned to realize our vision by the spring of next year, and then actually build the playground by the summer months. So we are really delighted to have all the support of the community that stepped forward thus far, and we look forward to really engaging the community at large in the months to come.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And in closing, I would just like to ask you, Principal Johnson, why Turtle Lake Elementary School and why now?
Yeah, and it really is a timing thing. As Jen had mentioned earlier, it is time to look at redoing our playground. The time has come where, with it being 20 years old, it's time for those updates to happen. And why not make it inclusive? Why not take this opportunity to make it so that all students can be able to interact with each other, regardless of their challenges that they may face. So it is the perfect time as far as that's concerned. But when you couple that with the unique opportunity that we have regarding the expertise of a lot of very dedicated parents and community members, it's a perfect time to pair those two things together to make this happen for the students of Turtle Lake Elementary as well as the residents of Shoreview.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. I'm personally very excited about this project, A Playground for Everyone, and the opportunity that we have to bring inclusive play to the Shoreview community. I'd like to thank everyone who has been a part of this project up to this point, and would also like to invite those of you who would like to be a part of this or learn more about this project to visit our website at turtlelakeplayground.weebly.com. Thank you.